All right, folks. Welcome to the Crack House Podcast. My name is Mike O'Sullivan. Joining me, as always, is my buddy Chris Muscalino. What's up, dude?
Greetings, Saturday Night Live with Big Mike. What's up, crackheads?
Yeah, we should have been dancing in a fountain.
little foreboding for the topics of some of the show that we have for everybody tonight.
Yeah, yeah. I got something else too. I saw today on Instagram. I gotta share it because I never knew it, and it's like one of those things when you find it out, you're like, "Holy mackerel, man! I can't believe this." Um, so before we start, how was your week?
Interesting, man. I'm sure we're gonna get to some of my
Yeah,
dealings later on in the show, but pretty interesting week.
yeah.
You?
Ah, pretty much the same old stuff. Nothing new. Just can't wait. I can't wait for just like school to be over and dealing with the kids at home. I mean, like for people that are still at home with their kids, God bless you, man. Like I'm doing it now with I got two at home with school, and it really is the worst thing in the world. And teachers should make a lot more money because this is like, I mean, and I have kids in high school. I can't imagine what it's like to have like these, like you're playing teacher at home for these kids, man. It's crazy.
Well, along those lines, I didn't mind it, Mike, at all. I'm cool with my kids. I mean, my house is a decent size, but I guess something that went on in Smithtown is along the lines of what you're saying. There was a big vote, I guess, on the school district board this week in Smithtown.
Yeah.
So I basically, I guess, what's going on with kids working at, being homeschooled and stuff is you get to hear a lot of stuff that the teachers say over like these Zoom stuff, and I guess apparently I guess in our district they would, I guess there were allegations of them being anti-police and also talking about critical race theory. And I think it didn't really sit well with a lot of people. So there was a larger than unusual turnout with our school board of elections this week. And they
Uh-huh.
got a whole new crew in there. And a lot of it stemmed from, I think, what you talked about, where kids, it's no longer where there's a little row between your kids and your teachers and what you hear and how you decipher what's being taught and what's not being taught. I heard some disturbing shit a couple months ago. My kid was on a Zoom meeting or one of these homeschooling things, and I guess somehow some anti-Catholic bullshit came up in the thing. I'm not going to mention the content of it because I'm sure it'll rub people the wrong way, but I made a complaint to the school back a couple of months ago, and I'm like, you know what? I really don't want to hear this shit. I don't want to hear any anti-Catholic BS, in relation to whatever. Everybody's got their own belief systems. I'm not the most religious guy, but going by based on what you said, you know, I think, for some people they can't deal with the homeschooling. For me, I didn't mind it, but I think the whole get to know your teacher and what's being taught and what's being said in the classrooms came a lot more to the forefront
Well,
with
there
this whole
was
COVID thing.
there was just a thing in the Post the other day. There was a New York City public school teacher like sucking on her boyfriend's chest, his nipple, and
Yeah,
like
it's
she didn't
whacked
know
out,
the
man.
camera was on. People, yeah, I think there's a lot of these teachers that they're home, they don't give a shit, kind of like, they do have a tough job because now they got to teach from home. They don't have hands-on experience. But I think too, there's some of them, you know, a lot of them are like young in their 20s and kind of like don't give a shit if they get fired or not. I think the older ones that have been doing it for a while and have families and rely on money are going to do their jobs. I mean, I see what my wife is a teacher, and I see what she goes through with a lot of the work where she
Right.
their jobs don't stop sometimes at 3 o'clock with lesson plans and everything else, and it really is a tough job. But I think more like what I was saying was like just for kids. I think like they're you know eh, I don't want to be like new age and everything, but like people's mental health has suffered so much, like just during the last year with
I
being
agree.
cooped up and just staying home, and I just can't wait. Like I said, it seems like things are getting back to normal, and hopefully like this year, once the school year ends, come September again, we get things back to normal. And that's about it.
I agree with you, Mike, man. I mean, I think, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. My wife's in the mental health field and She spoke about it. And, listen, just going back to what you said, as far as, the whole school, homeschooling stuff, teachers, just like me in my profession, I had this conversation with Jay, who's in the mortgage business. I'm sure you dealt with it with the police department. You got to speak to people a little bit differently than, the old days. I
Yeah.
think every profession, wherever walk of life you are, the way you speak to people, man, the way you convey thoughts, even on this podcast, I'm pretty careful. I'm sure people don't think I'm careful. Maybe my mom or whoever's watching this, but you got to be really careful in terms of how you communicate at your job, with people, with the public.
Yeah.
It's a completely different animal these days, and whatever.
Yeah.
Those are my 2 cents on it.
I mean, like you said, well, we're through this now, and hopefully, like I said, hopefully it's over. Let's just get into the show.
Yeah.
COVID's gone. So you played a little Friends. We got Friends coming back. The Friends reunion.
So it's coming out May 27th on HBO Max, and the reason I pushed to have it is because it was such a huge part, I guess, of a lot of people's lives in the 90s. Whether you like the show
Yeah.
or not, I personally hated it. I couldn't stand it. I thought it was unrealistic. But I think for more or less, it shaped, our little bubble, here in New York, on Long Island, in the city to an extent, for maybe a 5, 6 year time period. Now, I know it was always in the shadows of Seinfeld, but, on some level, it was what must
Yeah.
watch TV, right?
I've actually seen people like online say, "What was the better show, Friends or Seinfeld?"
Which
Like,
I don't even think is a comparison.
how is that? That's come on, come on. Yeah, I thought the show,
Oh my goodness, man. Why this?
like you
Right.
said, the show was completely unrealistic in the sense that these three girls, no, wait, did all three of them shit? No, the two girls shared the apartment. Courtney
Right.
Cox and the other one had like a 3-bedroom apartment for like $800 a month down in the West Village.
Good luck with that.
They said that so many people from like the Midwest came to New York City thinking like, I want the Friends apartment. And
$3,000 a month. How about that?
yeah,
How you doing?
I've seen, I remember in its heyday seeing like, studios for like $3,000 a month. And the studio was literally, probably like 15 feet by like 8 feet. And there were people lining up, and it wasn't just one person moving in. It was like a studio with roommates
Right.
that you used to see in Manhattan. I mean, I remember one time my boss telling me like the studio was $3,000. He goes, I pay $2,100 a month for a 4-bedroom house in Long Island. He goes, I have 2 closets bigger than this apartment.
No, man, I'm with you. I mean, I never really watched it. I mean, it came on here or there. There were a few characters I really despised. Me and my wife were watching, I guess, the breakup with Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston, right?
Yeah.
And I turned to my wife and I'm like, this character in this movie is Jennifer Aniston in real life. And Jennifer Aniston, I said to my wife, at face value, is this hot chick, right? And every white chick on Long Island had that hairstyle. They had that attitude. And I said, watching that movie with Vince Vaughn and her, I said, this is why she's not with a guy. Because she's hot, but she's not super hot. And the attitude is of such that she's a pain in the ass. And on some level, guys weigh pain in the ass, hotness, and on some level, one outweighs the other.
Yeah, I think she comes off like super high maintenance.
Correct.
I definitely think that. I mean, listen, she had Brad Pitt and he couldn't stand her.
But think about this. I mean, you're Brad Pitt. You could get any woman in the world, and it's like, all right, she's hot. Yeah, I get it. I can get hotter. And on some level, she's probably a pain in the ass. Kind of like that chick in the 90s and the 80s where we grew up, where if you didn't have a certain level of money or a nice car on some level or a status,
well, I mean,
you weren't getting her.
Yeah, I mean, she's basically the epitome of the old adage of, show me a hot girl, and I'll show you a guy that's just tired of her shit.
Right.
Like, because there always is that. There's always that guy. Oh my God, this girl's gorgeous, and it's like, yeah, but there's some guy that just rolls his eyes every time she opens her mouth.
Right.
How do I get rid of her? So I I worked with one guy that said he saw her in person and said she was drop dead gorgeous.
I'm sure she is.
Now,
She's
granted, he was
hot.
Greek, so he could be a little. He said he was one of the most beautiful women he'd ever seen in person.
I'm sure she is, man. She's our age, you know. Back then, she was an integral part of the show. I just watched it, and I'm like, why isn't this chick married? You know, why isn't this chick have kids? And I'm looking at this movie, and I'm like, this character is her. And
Yeah.
part of the reason I didn't watch Friends back then is because there was so many good-looking girls that we grew up with back in the day in Queens and Brooklyn and stuff that reminded me of her and that attitude that, yeah, she was cool. Yeah, she was probably, you know, she was unattainable. Let's put it that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that show did a good. It kind of just, like you said, a distorted reality for you. You know, in terms of, yeah, you're not hooking up with her. You know, she's gonna. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
mean, just it, and then on the flip side, I mean, getting off her for a second, you know, I looked at that Matthew Perry guy. I mean, you know, between him and the Joey, how many Joeys did we know growing up in Astoria? How many Joeys did you know in the police department?
Yeah.
There are a million Joeys, right? And I hate to say it, I'm Italian, but you know, in Maltese and English, whatever the frick you want to call it. But end of the day, I looked at Joey and I hated Joey. I hated Joey because he was like a caricature of an Italian dingbat. He was like
Oh
a male,
yeah, yeah. They
he was
made
like a male bimbo.
yeah the Mimbo, the
Right.
Mimbo. But
And
yeah,
Pat,
they definitely made him like a stereotype.
right.
You know, I guess Matthew Perry was supposed to be like the uptight wasp stereotype, and then like Ross and Rachel was supposed to be like the tip, and what's a face Aniston was supposed to be like the Long Island Jewish American princess girls, and
Right.
Ross, and you know, so
And for my Jewish buddies out there, I'm sure, you know, they looked at, you know, Ross and they looked at Rachel, and I guess they had varying different opinions, but I got a lot of Jewish friends and stuff. And it's like, I don't remember what they thought of them back then, but I was just thinking like the way I feel about Joey's an Italian American, I can't imagine them being too happy with the characters of, you know, people that these people portrayed as well.
oh yeah,
You know?
yeah, like it is. It's like it's like the show fucking what's that show on Showtime that everyone loves? Shameless.
Right.
Look at it. It's like the big stereotypical like Irish white trash family where everyone's like scheming, conniving. Everyone's got a drug problem, a drinking problem, a pill problem. They're always scam. I mean, come on. You know,
We used to always make fun of it, and plus there's just so many things that we made fun of. I mean, if you're a real guy or a real girl from Queens or Brooklyn or anywhere in the city area and watching the show, how many goofs that we used to have? Like, you know, somebody's upset. Oh, he breaks up with the girl, and Ross is on the ledge, and he's ready to commit suicide. What are you committing? Come on, bro. You live in a $3,000 apartment. You got this hot chick, and all of a sudden you hear the Edward McCain song, "I'll be your crying shoulder."
yeah.
Come on, bro. That's not reality. But I figured I'd bring it up because it was such a big show. Apparently it's going to be on HBO Max on May 27th. And you know, the last thing I just wanted to mention, and I guess we'll move forward unless you have anything other to add on it, was that I'm looking at Matthew Perry, and me and Michael's 49, just turned it the other day. Happy birthday, by the way. Have the audience, you know, happy birthday to Big Mike here. I'm 48. Perry's like 51, and Perry looks like he could be my grandfather. I don't know what the hell this guy did. I don't know what he partied with,
Oh, he partied with everything, it looked like.
but he is messed up, bro. He's slurring his words. They're concerned about him. Jammed up, bro. Really jammed up.
Yeah, he didn't look good. Yeah, I saw that. They had the video the other day of they were all doing, I guess, press for the reunion show, and he was like, I kind of like, I got a clock and I gave him, and he just hasn't looked good in the last few years too. Like I remember when the show ended, I think he was clean, and he was doing I think he got like a couple of spinoffs, not spinoffs, but like other series. And
Right.
it seemed for whatever reason the shows died, you know, and they wound up getting canceled. And then he kind
had
of
a
like
show.
drifted
Mike,
off.
he had a show before Friends. What the hell was it? It was a show where he went back in time and like he was playing like his teenage self, but he was really like a 40 or 50-year-old guy. And I think there was a Zac Efron movie too, you know, kind of like in the same theme, 17 again or some shit like
Yeah.
that. But before that, before Friends, there was actually a show where Chandler wasn't Chandler. He was in a different episode, and I guess he was playing his 17 or 18-year-old self. I forgot the name of it, but I think that was his first thing that he did, and then he did Friends, and then that was it. Like you said, he never really had anything that
Yeah.
materialized.
Oh, he had what else did he get? He had the Whole Nine Yards movie with Bruce Willis.
Yeah,
And then I
yeah,
think
I guess so. Yeah,
he had like
yeah.
one other movie that I don't think it did that great, but yeah, he seems like a guy like it, you know, his, you know, he's battling addiction. And you know, you just hope it works out and the guy doesn't wind up, you know, in a coffin because
Yeah,
he
man.
hasn't looked good. When you see those like old those recent pictures of the guy like hanging out in LA or whatever, he does. He looks horrible.
As Rick James once said, cocaine is a hell
A
of a
hell of a
drug.
drug. Yeah. All these guys, man, yeah, they, you know, but they live that lifestyle, and like anytime you see like these celebrities that get involved that have like a lot of addiction problems, and people say like, why couldn't you quit? He goes, do you understand? Every place I walked into, people just handed me drugs, and it's like I've heard this from, you know, listening to like comedians talk about like when they were struggling to get sober, or you know, rock and roll guys, musicians when they were struggling to get sober. It's like everyone you encounter knows you do drugs, and they will just give you drugs just to say, "Hey, man, I just did drugs with Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. I just did coke with Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, or I just did coke with Sam Kinison or whoever." He goes, it was so hard to quit when you talk to some of these people, and that's why a lot of them wind up dead.
No, I agree with you, Mike. I mean, listen, we make fun of it. Look, I've had family members with addictions. It's no joke. You know, on some level, though, you got to do take some responsibility. I mean, I think society is definitely coddles people with addictions these days. You know, a lot much different than it was in years past, and maybe for good reason. But I mean, on some level, it just feels like, you know, it's almost used as a crutch, you know, as far as, you know, it's a sickness and this and that. On some level, you take responsibility for your behaviors, man. And, you know, you're right. You know, some of these rock stars, this guy Perry, you know, the way he's going, he's not going to live to see 60. I mean, he looks horrible, you know.
Yeah, he's yeah, you're right.
I mean, we'll talk about something else, I guess, along those lines about people dropping dead earlier instead. But I don't know, man. Life's too short. I mean, listen, I'm not going to judge anybody, you know, but I just watched that and I said, wow, you know, for a guy like relatively our age, hope you hope you enjoyed it. You know, I mean, I know Jim Morrison used to say, "I'm going to get my shits before kicks before the whole house comes down." You know, he died at 28 or 27, whatever it was. You know you hope it's worth it. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
Each his own.
Hopefully, Matthew Perry turns it around. Anyway, speaking of not judging people, let's judge Chrissy Teigen right now.
Chrissy. You know, he's another set of people, Legend and her. I don't particularly care for Mike. You know, I just saw the story. I figured it'd be an interesting topic. You know, it seems like she's been cyberbullying some people online, 14-year-old girl in particular, telling her to go kill herself.
Well,
Chrissy.
this goes.
Cancel culture. People are coming after you.
That's what this chick, well, girl, the girl Courtney Stodden was the girl she went after. I've never heard of her. I I did a little lookup on her. All right, remember the movie The Green Mile?
Yeah.
Okay, remember that one guard that was an asshole when what's his face is getting when Michael Clark Duncan's getting executed and he's supposed to put the sponge on his head and he doesn't put the sponge and it fucks up the execution. All right, she married that guy when she was 16. This guy was 51 when they got married. They had like a reality show, whatever. And then her and Chrissy Teigen. Now she's 16. Chrissy Teigen's like 23 at the time because this cyberbullying is like 10 years old.
Right.
Chrissy Teigen just goes after her and for whatever reason tells her to kill herself, take a dirt nap, all of this stuff. And for whatever reason, it just kind of like went away. And then this Courtney Stodden chick kind of like resurfaced everything. Maybe she wants to get famous again. I don't know what it is, but you know, all of these things were like DMs too. They weren't. Some of it was public. Like she made a couple of public. Chrissy Teigen made a couple of public tweets about who's it? Lindsay Lohan slitting her wrists. I mean, she went after like quite a few people, and
Mm-hmm.
the problem is she did it 10 years ago, and now she comes off as this like virtue signaling, holier than thou person.
Right, right, right.
And like you said, it all came back to, bite her in the ass. And listen, everyone's got
This
to.
is disrespectful, my friends.
It's true.
Right.
Exactly. She comes off, like you said, comes off holier than thou, tries to be pious. Everyone's got skeletons in your closet, Chrissy. She lost. What was it? The cookware thing she had. She had a cookbook deal. They said the thing I read was she's like inconsolable right now because she is such like one of these social media mavens, and now she can't be on social media. I mean, she did a thing like a month ago of I need my mental health. I'm leaving social media, and she was back 3 weeks later. I guess she got fixed really quick, And I don't know. I personally,
Dude, you got to be real careful. Like I said before in the beginning of the show, you got to be careful about what you say to people. On Twitter will ban the shit out of you. They ban the president.
Listen, anyone can, we could sit here and probably go through a list of people that we want to bash. And then if one of these people is like, well, fuck Mike and fuck Chris, and they just decide to scroll through our Twitter feeds, I'm sure there's going to be stuff that comes up that might not be too popular.
Absolutely.
Like anyone can get, that's the thing. Anyone can get canceled. Anyone. So
look, I'm sure if you go through my Twitter feed, I mean, I'm sure people will look at shit that I've written throughout the years and like, he's a racist, he's a this, he's a that. Look, the people that I know me, they know who I am. I don't got to explain anything to anybody, but the people that I know, the people that I'm friends with, all colors, all cultures and stuff, I ain't got nothing to hide. And what I say to my mother, who's very skeptical about social media and you and anybody else, what you see here is what you get in person. So a lot of these people, I just get the impression that some of these people are like keyboard warriors and they say shit that they don't think at the time is going to mean anything.
Well, it's like, it's like everyone wants to be on the right side. Everyone right now wants to be on the right side. And, that's why I think a lot of people, the Mideast conflict going on right now, there's a lot of people that are like, I'm not saying anything.
Dude, I'm not going to say anything.
I'm not saying.
Look, I'm very friendly with. I'm very friendly with a lot of Jewish people, man, and I'm usually on their side, and I'm probably with them on this side too. But that said, I know there's a lot of fucked up things going on in New York City right now, and a lot of anti-Semitic bullshit going on in the city.
Yeah.
And look, I get it. I'm a political science major. I sat in a class one time where basically an Israeli professor broke it down for me, the conflict in the Mideast. And he said to us as a class, he goes, look, I'm going to say this as a Jewish man, as an Israeli, because you're never going to get peace there.
No.
Ever. He goes, it stems from the 68 problem. This shit's been going on for thousands of years. It's going to continue to go on. And when you get one little piece of land that's, very important to a whole bunch of different cultures and religions, it's a recipe for freaking disaster.
Yeah.
That said, like you said, I'm all hands off, but I've been reading a lot of shit where like in the city, there's a lot of crazy shit going on.
Yeah.
I saw a kid today on his stream on Twitch. He was talking about it. He was like 23. He's a Columbia University grad. And he's like, yo, dude, no joke. I'm not really safe, man. He goes, I'm feeling like, low key that there's a lot of shit that's going on that
I'll tell you right now, man, like Hasidic Jews right now, they're probably hunkering down,
no
man.
Good,
like,
man.
Like they're not leaving Williamsburg or other parts of Brooklyn, other certain parts of Queens. Dude, it's been on the news. Like Times Square has been on the news where there was riots.
Up, man.
Yeah, there was riots there the other day. You had these other kids doing donuts down by like Washington Square Park with big Palestinian flags. Dude, it's a mess right now, and that's going to be. I look at it this way: that's going to be the next big hate crime. I think that's going to be like the soup du jour of hate crimes coming up.
Yeah, man. Listen, I just hope it doesn't end up in like some sort of 9/11 bullshit. I know a lot of the conflict there was, what that asshole Osama said was, he goes, originally what he said was, this is in response to the United States support of Israel and all sorts of bullshit that he
Yeah.
spewed at the time. And I'm just hoping nothing bad really happens, especially, it seems like we're coming out, COVID seems to be finally
Yeah.
coming to an end, and you don't want any more bullshit going on.
No. Hopefully it gets resolved. I think they did have a ceasefire right now. Hopefully they can go to the table. But like you said, man, this is something thousands of years old. You know,
Dude, he broke it down for us. He broke it down for us. And there were people of all different cultures and stuff. I'm sure there may be Palestinian kids in the class, whatever. And he said he broke it down from 68, the war there, the Holy Land, the shit that's been going on the years, the occupation, Gaza Strip, the whole 9 yards. And it was just like, it's pretty interesting to hear it, from, a different perspective, in a real fact-based, way. But I can tell you, there's a lot of shit going on, especially in New York City, that is not right, man.
Nah,
it's
yeah,
not right. And again, it stems back to the fucking mayor. That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
When you get lawlessness, this is what happens on any level, whether it's response to police brutality, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's not good. It's a recipe for disaster. When you have this stuff where you cripple a police department and you make it hard for them to police, or at the very least have a presence or decrease that presence, stuff like this pops its head. So again, I've said it time and time again, you got to find a balance one way or the other. You can have shit, going one way or the other, but you have to have a balance and you have to have a presence there to prevent this stuff.
Yeah, who knows? Don't worry, Andrew Giuliani is going to save us all. He's running. For
Will
governor.
Ferrell.
Yeah, oh man, I did you watch him on TV? Did you see him at all on TV at his little "I'm running for governor" press conference?
Yeah, I don't know what to think of him at this point. I'm inclined to like him.
I do.
Yeah.
I don't. He has too much frat guy energy, man.
Yeah.
He's got that like, bro, I'm gonna get out there. I'm gonna clean up the streets, bro. You're gonna see, bro. Like he might as well have called everybody, bro. He might as well have had a hat on backwards and a white claw in his hand. Like, bro, we're gonna take this city back, bro. You watch, bro. And now here's the problem too with him, Chris. His dad was gonna be a big driving force behind this thing.
Right, and now he's not.
Daddy's got some issues right now. Rudy can't be showing his face. You know what I'm saying?
Rudy's
got to go low key.
Issues,
yeah, low key, as the kids say right now. Low key. Rudy's got to be low key.
I put that on Twitter. I know you like that and stuff. Yeah. So it seems like the words today, like back in when you and I were kids, it was like the word was it's fresh. It's dope. Yeah. There was all sorts of words that changed from year to year, right? Now it seems like the things that pop up is everything's low key. Everything is, hey, Dad, that's sus. What's sus? Suspect, right? Or, hey, fam, my friends at work. Yo, fam, what's going on, fam? Yo, who's fam? It's all sorts of shit. It's just it harkens back to when we were kids.
No cap. What? No cap. You ever heard
no
that
cap,
one?
Right.
No cap.
AF, right?
So really? No cap.
No cap.
I don't know. But
it's cool shit, man.
But I'll be on. Yeah, he had like that weird, like alpha dog kind of like I run the frat kind of energy, and I didn't like it. I like the little fat kid that was crawling all over Rudy's podium when he was elected mayor. And listen, man, the kid's running as a Republican. He ain't gonna win, man. Like this is he should have won some. If this kid really wanted to get in, think about this too. His last job was working for Trump in the Trump administration. He can't even like use that as a like this. He should have looked for something else, or looked maybe in another state, or I don't maybe like ran a campaign and thought about
right.
I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't see this kid. Andrew, sorry, buddy. I don't see it going anywhere unless he comes out. unless he's got some amazing PR person that just totally turns his kid around. That's it, man.
Did you see? There he is. There he is. Yo, bro. Yo, bro.
bro.
You know who used to say that shit all the time? I know you're not a big talk radio guy, but Joe Beningo used
Yeah,
to drive me crazy, man. Joe Beningo was like a talk show host that he basically won this.
he won
He
the
won this
contest.
contest. He won a contest and became a WFAN personality. Big Jet guy, big Met fan,
Yeah,
complete like character of a loser if there ever was. But make a long story short, he had a 20-year career, and like his catchphrases, like you'd listen to this guy, and every other word was indubitably. Oh,
yeah,
bro. Oh, no doubt. It's like, the guy had a vocabulary of like a 3-year-old, and he would throw out like these bro type phrases that would just drive me crazy. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing wrong in my life that this
yeah.
guy's got this job, and I'm toiling away making X amount of money
And
on a 9 to 5,
and you know who loved him? Francesa was the guy that discovered him in that
Yeah.
contest, and he loved the
Well,
guy.
by the way, towards the end, they hated each other. Like there was animosity between him and his, I guess his co-host Evan. Apparently there was I guess a lot of bad blood with Mike towards the end before he retired, so they were all goofing on him. But that's interesting that you bring that up.
Yeah. Speaking of sports, you brought this up. There's a Derek Jeter documentary in the works or coming out, or
Yeah, man. So we're
is it a
not going to
30,
mention.
30 for 30 or
30 for 30, I believe. 8-part series that's going to be shown on ESPN.
8-part series?
An 8-part series. 8-part series, and I think it's coming out pretty soon, actually. I don't know the exact date, but it's an 8-part series. It's going to be on ESPN, and I can't imagine what the hell they're going to drag it out.
Eight.
As far as how much can you talk about Derek Jeter? I mean, I love him. One of my favorite Yankees of all time. I'm not going to mention his last name, but this guy Matt, if you're watching, Matt was Derek Jeter's bodyguard for many, many years. I think he still is. Matt's a childhood buddy of me and Michael. Great guy, police officer, runs a big bodyguard business, lots of celebrities. Make a long story short, me and Michael also went to school with a guy that was very good friends with Derek Jeter. This guy's Sean. And Sean, your father, Mike's father, coached him in football. Well, make a long story short, Sean went to McClancy. He got drafted by the Yankees. And I guess he met Jeter and became Jeter's best friend.
Yeah.
And Matt kind of worked his way into the circle and became his bodyguard. And it kills me because I lost touch with Matt for a while, but I guess when he first met him, Matt, I guess, introduced him to a lot of our childhood buddies, including Big Pat. And it kills me that I never got a chance to meet Derek Jeter because I'm such a big Yankee fan. But
he was
from my understanding,
he used to go to O'Neill's a lot in Maspeth.
Did he?
When Alan Watson pitched, Watson grew up, I think, in Middle Village or Glendale, and he used to
He's
take
a Christ
him
the
there.
King guy.
Yeah, like
right.
the 96, like his rookie season, he would take him there.
That's correct. So those 3 guys, I think, there was 3 guys that ended up making the majors. They all played for Christ the King. They were great, great players. But Sean played for McClancy. Sean became good friends with Jeter. Jeter became, I guess, good friends with Matt. Matt became his bodyguard. And Matt introduced a lot of our childhood buddies to him, I guess, in the beginning before he really took off, like in 95 or 96.
Yeah.
And I'd lost touch with Matt at that point, for a while. We were traveling in different circles. And years later, he told me his story, and it just killed me that I never had a chance to meet him because he's such a favorite of mine. And this documentary, I'm sure, is going to go into some of his personal life. The guy, if there was ever a celebrity out there or a sports figure that was as clean as Jeter, I dare anybody in the audience to name a more clean, squeaky figure than him.
See, this is what I'm saying. How is this 8 parts? This guy is the most boring fucking athlete to ever play a sport. Any sport you could think of. He wasn't a fucking wild. He wasn't like Mickey Mantle, who was this Wild Man. He wasn't, Whitey Ford. He wasn't those old school Yankees. Billy Moore. He did nothing. This guy. He wasn't a Lawrence Taylor. He was a good. Listen, I'm not taking anything away from his baseball skills. The guy was a tremendous athlete. Tremendous athlete.
Oh, by the
Great
way,
play.
I met Mike. I met Whitey Ford, and check this out. I got an autograph for him. And when I met him, right, I wanted him to sign. I said, Whitey, can you sign to Chris from Whitey and put your address there and my address? And I guess his daughter was sitting next to him, and he goes, why the fuck do you want me to put my address there? He goes, and he's looking at his daughter like, is this guy crazy? I go, look, I'm from Astoria too. He goes, what are you, Greek? I go, no, I'm Italian. He goes, look, I'll put your address there. He goes, but I'm not going to put I'm not going to put mine. So he signed it. He shook my hands. He goes, okay, I'll see you later. But, Whitey Ford's an Astoria guy too.
Yeah, I actually got to meet him when I worked at the stadium and got his autograph, and he was a very nice guy. And I did the same thing. Like, you always want the in kind of with these guys.
Right.
And I was like, hey, Whitey, I grew up in Astoria. He's like, oh, really? My dad owned a bar on like I think his father owned a bar somewhere on like 30th Avenue. I was like, yeah, dude, your father owned that bar in like 1948. It's like it's gone now. I was like, but he was a complete gentleman.
So cool.
Like, yeah, very nice guy.
So cool.
And shook our hands and said thank you.
Now, on the same topic, though, going back to Mickey Mantle for a second, in 1985, my dad takes me to a card show, right, with Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle there, and he goes, look, I can't afford for you to get both, autographs. He goes, you got to pick one. I'm like, look, I got to go with Joe D, the Paisano, right? So Joe D is like, he's dressed to nines, like he's got like this big, he's got a suit on. He looks like Mr. Coffee and shit. I run up to him, I get the autograph. I'm like, thank you, Mr. DiMaggio, blah, blah, blah. He signs the picture. And Mickey Mantle was sitting next to him. And Mickey Mantle is like in a cut-off shirt. He looked like he just got off a farm, this fucking guy. And as soon as I got off from DiMaggio, I went over there. I must have been about 11, 12 years old. And I go, hey, Mick, how you doing? And I shook Mickey Mantle's hand. He goes, hey, kid, how you doing? Completely cool. But it kills me with Jeter because he's probably one of the few Yankees, the big-time Yankees, that I've never met. And I've met a lot of them.
I met him. I got his autograph. He was the quietest fucking dude like you ever like. He was like, hey, Derek, how you doing? He just give you like the keep walking. I used to see him every night to move the traffic to get him out, and he would just wave and drive away. Meanwhile, Jorge Posada wanted to have a 10-minute conversation every night, and he speaks a little broken English, so it was hard to understand him sometimes. But he was always a gentleman to me. Hey, how you doing? Hey, my friend. Hey, how you doing?
I think all those guys were really cool, man. Matt told me a lot of stories about him. He told me the story about, I guess, where, if you went to one of his parties, you couldn't bring a cell phone into his place. So I'm sure, like, the documentary will go into a little bit of stuff like that. Yeah, like,
that's why he's so. Right. Come on. That's why he's so squeaky clean, because he's probably doing some sick shit and no one could record it. And I mean, if
you told me stories about Posada, you said Posada was a great guy.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, A-Rod didn't get glowing reviews from Big Matt.
No, I wasn't. I met him too. I wasn't that big of a fan. I told the story about when I got his autograph.
Right.
We're gonna talk about him in a minute too, think about too when Jeter first started. It was 1996. There were no cell phones. No one was record. No one got a cell phone to take video. And old cell phone video was horrific. Towards the end of his career, when did he retire? 2014,
2014, 15-ish, maybe.
It was basically like the last 7-8 years of his career where people really got into, phones and stuff. And even then, and by then he was just like kind of like settled down by then. He was like old man.
No, absolutely.
But they said
I think the only guy that probably these days comes close to him is maybe Brady. I mean, I'm not a huge Brady fan, but I think he seems to be a really good guy. Another squeaky clean type guy. But go ahead. You were saying something. I cut you off.
But supposedly Derek Jeter's like laundry list of women is insane, and I hope they get it. I want to see if they get into that.
I'm sure they got it. I mean, Matt told me some stories. I didn't get into much detail about it. He told me the story with the cell phones. He told me the stories. I guess sometimes they would grab women after the party was over, and I guess introduce them because the guy never really wanted to be. He'd wait for the club to empty out, and then Matt and a couple guys would bring the girl back, that he wanted to hook up with. But most of the stuff Matt said, he said he was a super cool guy, man. He was a real nice guy. He told me stories about Bernie and I guess O'Neill and Posada and A-Rod and all those guys. And
Well,
I
I
met
think
Mariano Rivera at some point. Not another nice guy,
yeah.
super nice guy.
Mariano was a very nice guy. I met him as well. Got his autograph. Very, very
Right.
reverent dude. Very religious guy.
Yeah.
I think most of these guys too. Like, think about it. Like that core group, that dynasty group. If you think about it, except maybe for like a Paul O'Neill who played for the Reds, most of them were homegrown, younger guys, and the Yankees were able to like mold them. And
Well,
then
well, check this out. Going along the lines of what you just said. So check this out. Matt told me a story on again, going back to the kid jargon, right? Low key, right?
yeah.
He said Andy Pettit left the Yankees, I guess, to go to Houston Astros in 04 and 05. Apparently he got caught cheating on his wife. And that's why the wife gave him an ultimatum to something to the effect of, hey, look, either you get traded out of New York or I'm going to divorce you. And Pettit is, I think, another really, he's not an overly religious guy, but I think he's a religious guy, kind of like Rivera to an extent. And apparently, and again, don't quote me on this, it's secondhand. Maybe Matt said it to me, or maybe I heard it somewhere differently and he confirmed it for me. But again, I'm not going to put Matt into that position. But I heard that he got caught cheating on his wife, and that's why he got traded to the Astros in 04. So you're right. They are homegrown guys. I think they were tight-knit guys. I love that team. They're one of my favorites. Outside the 70s Bronx Zoo Yankees, that's my team.
Oh, that was I mean, I hate the Yankees, but those teams just crushed everything. They were like a bulldozer for,
And I think there's certain teams out there that transcend, like, I don't like the Mets like you don't like the Yankees, but I grew up with, a lot of Met fans, including you. And I can tell you the 85, 86 Mets were hard to dislike at that time. I didn't root for them, but
those guys were just
back in the day, I mean,
nuts.
Yeah. A great team to root for and very hard to dislike, at least for me. I still follow Lenny Dykstra to this day on Twitter, who's absolutely hysterical. And if we have a chance, we should really get into Nails one day, because that guy is a walking comedy show, dude.
He's a mess. I mean, you know what I felt bad for him about, man? Like, he was married to his wife for 20 years, and it just goes to show you, man, he went broke and she was gone like the next day. Like, once he went broke and got locked up, it was like, yeah, I'm gone. I'm filing. He owned Wayne Gretzky's house.
He did, and there was some sort of documentary about him too, about how he screwed all these people over and stuff. And I guess he was high and shit, and he had a conversation with some woman who I guess was supposedly showing him a $20,000 bill for an airplane that he rented or something. He's like, I don't know you shit, like take a hike.
Well, I watched one story about him on what was it, Real Sports. And
I think that's what it was.
And he owed he hit it big in the stock market.
Right.
Well, first he started out, he did car washes. He made all this money.
He made a ton of money
of money doing car washes, and then figured out the stock market. He's like, yeah, I watched Jim Cramer a couple of times and read a couple of books. And he did hit it big in I guess maybe the tech boom or whatever it was. And he killed it. But like everything that goes up, it came down. And then he just still kept living that lifestyle. And that's why he went broke. Like, they showed him like years later in Wayne Gretzky's house that he had to put up for sale. And all that was left in Wayne Gretzky's house was like a couch, one couch. And that was everything else.
Right. And the guy came in looking for him.
Yeah. Right. And like the thing with the planes, he was starting a business, I think, of like leasing corporate jets.
Right.
And then he couldn't afford any of these planes. They started repoing his planes. So like,
I guess any guy presented a bill and he's like, I don't know you shit. Get out of here. But he's an interesting read on Twitter, man. If you have a chance, follow his account. But going back to what you're saying with the Yankees and not liking them, but liking them, and it's tough to hate them. That 85, 86 Met team, I feel the same way. Like, I don't like the Mets. I don't root for them. I get into it with some of my Met buddies, but here's the deal. That team, very, very, very tough to dislike if you're a New Yorker.
Yeah, true. I mean, and if you love the Mets, read the book, The Bad Guys Won, all about the 86.
Jeff Pearlman, phenomenal book.
That's a
By the way, he
book.
follows me on Twitter. Him and Mike Vaccaro, yeah.
That's a great book, and it just the best part is, like, one of the best parts is the beginning. where Davy Johnson walks in with the bill from the plane.
Right.
When they won in Houston, they wrecked the plane coming, like they ripped seats out of a plane in midair.
Right.
That's how much they partied. They said there was food on the ceiling of the plane. Everything was everywhere.
Like rock stars, man.
Yeah,
They destroyed it.
I think it was like at the time like 150 grand worth of damage to the plane.
Yeah, man. I was reading some crazy stories. Like I think they would like doing cocaine, like in the back in the toilet bowl in the plane. Crazy shit, man. Crazy shit.
Davy Johnson walked into the locker room and said, "Here's the bill for the plane. 150 grand of damage we did." He takes the bill and rips it up in front of the whole and goes, "Fuck them. We're going to the World Series. They can pay for it."
And that was a great book, man. That was a great book. I agree.
Yeah. Read that book, The Bad Guys Won, if you're an 86 Met fan or just a Met fan in general. But speaking of, we talked about A-Rod. A-Rod is coming out with a makeup line for men. This is real. Like this guy, I just saw part of the, I just saw the headline of it. A-Rod coming out with a makeup line for men. Okay. I mean, like, I guess, you know, I guess there are guys.
Oh my goodness, man.
Crazy, dude. Just crazy.
And I mean, he's probably a guy that wears makeup all the time just being on TV. So I guess he feels like, why can't everyone wear it? If that's his thing, man, good for A-Rod.
Good for A-Rod.
Good for, I mean, hey man, maybe he's going through a thing right now. No more J-Lo. It's just
apparently he's bent out of shape over the fact that J-Lo is with what's his face with Ben Affleck. You know, supposedly like he's really having a tough time with the whole thing that I guess he's with her. You know, and I've been reading a couple of articles where he's really depressed and blah blah blah. Which who the hell knows, dude? I think he's a serial womanizer. You know, he seems to be a genuinely disliked guy from Yankee fans and non-Yankee fans alike.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And that's what I meant. Like when a guy like him came into the fray, he was already established. He already was making $200 and something million contract with Texas, and he came in. And you're going to try and like tame this guy. You're going to try and tell him to, you know, calm down and this is how the Yankees do business. No. Someone put it. Some guy I talked to one time, like talked about like just athletes and movie stars in general. It's like, especially like a guy like athletes, because you know it's very young. They're very young when people like recognize their talent. So a guy like A-Rod, since he's probably been like 13 or 14 years old, no one has ever told that guy no. No one has ever said like that's a bad idea, because for a lot of people too, he's a meal ticket. You know,
no, I agree with you.
There's so many, you know, there's so many other people behind him that are like, when he makes it, we're all getting paid.
I agree with you.
So
he's a tough guy to like. I think he's got some daddy issues too.
That's the thing. Tough guy to like. That's the best way to describe.
Tough guy to like. But I think he's got some daddy issues too. I mean, I think his father left him at a young age. I think that plays into his psychosis on some level, but whatever. You know, I'm not going to have, like you like to say, I don't think A-Rod's hurting that much. You know, I think with all the money that he's got and all the shit, I think he'll do just fine.
He just bought a basketball team, right?
Yeah. Timberwolves.
Yeah. So
who, by the way, one of the guys was like, who's A-Rod? Who's Alex Rodriguez? Didn't know who the hell he was. I'm sure that went over well with him and his ego.
That's amazing. It's amazing that like someone thinks that. Like who is, and meanwhile, this guy 20 years ago was like he was one of the faces of baseball. He was one of the amazing three shortstops. Think about it. Him, Nomar, and Jeter.
Yeah, that's right.
And I mean, what the hell ever happened to Nomar Garciaparra?
Steroids, bro. Steroids. As a matter of fact, I was on Mike and the Mad Dog one time, and I got into a big argument with what's his face, with Francesa. And Jeter had gotten hurt, which I'm sure they'll go into on the documentary. And basically what I said to them, I'm like, you know, why wouldn't they put A-Rod at shortstop instead of playing him at third if Jeter's going to be out for a very long time? And Francesa just jumped down my throat. He's like, "Oh, that'll never happen." Blah 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 blah. I'm like, Mike, I played baseball. Shortstop is a more important position than third base. He goes, "Oh, that would never go. Joe Torre would never do it." I'm like, why wouldn't they put the all-star shortstop,
Yeah.
A-Rod, at shortstop instead of playing him out of position at third because he moved there because Jeter didn't want to move off shortstop. And he said, that'll never happen. So they hung up on me. And then Mad Dog started getting in on him. He goes, he's right. They should be putting him at shortstop. He goes, oh, well, that'll never happen. It'll open a whole bag of worms with Jeter. Jeter's ego would never allow A-Rod to move there, even in his absence. But I had the thing DVR'd somewhere, and it was just funny that Francesa just jumped down my throat when I brought that up. But whatever.
Yeah, but that was always like total Francesa.
Yeah.
I don't. You never heard. I mean, all right, we can go down the Francesa rabbit hole for a little bit, but you never heard Francesa say things like, "That's a great idea. I can't believe you thought of that," or just think whenever. This is the one Francesa thing that always sticks in my head. Whenever someone would call up with a trade, and he would just,
you rip their asses out.
He would just lose his shit and just go into how would they do that? Look at how much he's got left on the contract. You can't do that. Then who's gonna play second base? Then if they trade him here, who's covering? And then the salary cap, and then all right, we get it. You're the smartest guy. You know sports better than everybody.
I'm going to steal a page from my friend Tony, Big Tony. So Tony always used to say, he used to call the people like that one-uppers.
Yeah.
Hey, I went to St. John's. Well, that's great, Mike. I went to Harvard.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second. I was in the Boy Scouts. I made Life Scout. Hey, I was a triple eagle. And, it was always that one-upper person, whether it's in your work environment, I'm sure you encountered in the police department.
We used to call them either, one guy called them toppers.
Right.
We used to call them one-uppers. One guy used to call toppers. One guy would tell a story. This one time, I locked up 3 guys. I got a kilo of cocaine out of the trunk, and blah, blah, and then I got 9 guns. I got 47 kilos of cocaine. I got this. I got that. Oh, the Pope. But yeah, toppers and one-uppers, man.
One-uppers. Tony used to always say, he still says it to this day. He goes, the person is just like, yeah, I bought Dogecoin at 5 cents. Listen, I was one of the first people that bought it at 0.007 cents.
Yeah.
Okay, bud. All right. Yeah. I get it. I understand. Yeah, I get it with Francesa. It completely fits the epitome of a one-upper or a topper, as you guys like to call him.
He is. He definitely is. And is he coming back? Isn't he supposed to come back? I thought you said he was going to come back. Wasn't there something he was supposed to come back with, like a podcast or whatever?
He did. Once he retired, he came back and he tried to do a podcast, I guess like we're doing, where he would take snippets of his show. And then I guess he tried to market it through an app that you had to pay $8.99 to hear it. Oh, okay. So nobody's going to do that. Everybody's going to consume it like they do. They're going to listen to it on a Spotify or an Apple or on YouTube. They're not paying you $8.99 to hear your stupidity. They're going to tune into free radio. You're not Howard Stern. And if you were smart, that's what you would have done. You would have gone and taken a deal with the Mad Dog or XM Radio, and you'd have been fine. But I think his ego got the best of him.
Yeah, like I said, he should have went to satellite with Russo.
Yeah,
and just ridden off into the sunset. All right, listen, we're gonna save the best for last here. Okay. Chris got banned from a funeral.
Dude, it's the most bizarre story. And guys, I'll try to keep this, as PG and respectful for the guy, because the guy passed away. It's a horrible story. 46 years old, ex-fireman. I'm not going to mention his name, but the reality of it is, I'd known this guy for 20 plus years. He, at some point, was what they call a little brother in my fraternity. And we had a falling out, I guess, in the early 90s. The first year he had joined the fraternity, we were very close. His future wife, I guess, hit on me, and I kind of spurred her. Make a long story short, she went on to another friend of mine, this nut job Brian, who I'm not really friendly with anymore. I guess Brian hooked up with her, and I guess Brian moved on. And she went to a third guy in our fraternity, and eventually to this guy, who I'm not going to mention his name out of respect. which I'm probably not being respectful at this point, but it plays into the story. Make a long story short, Tom went from being one of my best friends to, I just said the guy's name, but sorry, I didn't mention his last name. He went from being one of my best friends to a guy that hated my guts. It was very strained. We got into a fist fight about a year later. 96, I'd gotten into the brokerage business, and we kind of went our separate ways. I didn't really think too much of it. We had a mutual friend of ours that I would time to time reach out to and, say, hey, look, I feel bad about what happened. Well, let me put out an olive branch. I didn't really mean anything. Guy was a close friend of mine. Let me just reach out an olive branch. He goes, I don't think he's too into that. Okay, fine. Flash forward 5-6 years later, my friend Joe gets married. And I guess there was a situation where the guy was going to be in the wedding party. And Joe was like, hey, look, you're going to be in the wedding party. He's going to be in the wedding party. You know what? Why don't you guys try to mend fences? I go, okay, I'll be the bigger man and I'll apologize to him. So I'm there at one of the parties for the wedding, and my wife's there. And I just went out of my way and I tried to apologize to the guy. The guy was a complete dickhead to me. Again, I said to Joe, I said, listen, here's what I said. I try to be cool. I have no ill will. This is what he did. He goes, I appreciate that. Guy got married. No hard feelings. Flash forward to that. Joe got divorced and he was set to get remarried. This is about 2012. 2012 comes around and Joe says the same thing to me. He goes, look, he's going to be in there. It's going to be awkward. I go, Joe, this ship sailed, man. I tried it once. I tried it twice. I've been trying for 15 years to kind of mend fences with the guy. He just doesn't seem to be really too open with it. And to be honest with you, the guy was kind of a dick to me the last time. So I said, let bygones be bygones. We show up at the wedding. He's in the wedding party. Joe told me I was going to be in the wedding party, but I wasn't. It was super awkward. We had a falling out. I hadn't spoken to Joe probably since then. Flash forward about a month ago, I see a picture of this guy. He looks really, really messed up. He looks like he's very skinny. Picture him and his wife in front of a fire truck in the Bronx. And I'm like, wow, I'm not this mean-spirited guy, contrary to popular belief, Big Pat, that is this evil motherfucker. So I said to a friend of mine who brought it up, mutual friend of ours, I go, that's messed up. I don't know if he's sick or, I haven't spoken to the guy in all these years, but I don't wish any ill will. He goes, wow, do you know what happened? I go, no, I don't. So Monday comes around. I turn on Facebook and I see the guy passed away. I'm like, holy shit. 46 years old, 3 kids, horrible shit. No matter what happened with me, just horrible, horrible crap. He was a firefighter. He went down to 9/11. He's one of those guys. He's a second fraternity brother of mine who passed away due to working the 9/11 sites. He developed pancreatic cancer and he passed away very quickly. So on our Facebook, on our fraternity wall, I said something to the effect of OMG, prayers to him and his wife and his family. Within 5 minutes, I get this text on Facebook Messenger from this guy that he's a mutual friend of ours. He's a fraternity brother. Came in a little bit younger than us. I guess he was very good friends with this guy. He goes, hey, can you shoot me your number? I go, no problem. So he speaks to me. He goes, hey, man, I saw you commented on the wall. And he goes, look, I don't know if you were, going to do it or not, but I don't really think it's a great idea to, go to, his wake or funeral services. I go, what do you mean? First of all, assuming that I would have gone there. I mean, I wasn't really, good friends with the guy at that point. He probably hated me.
Yeah, you drifted off,
But I figured I'd be respectful and just, throw out my condolences. And this guy took it upon himself to tell me that he assumed that I was going to go there. And then he goes, well, he was on his deathbed and the guy was saying somehow you came up. I don't know if it came up like they were breaking his balls and saying, oh, Muskrat's going to be at your funeral and him just responding to it. Or if this guy actually, which is really fucked up if he did, you're on your deathbed and you're thinking about me and how I shouldn't be at your funeral or your wake, saying something to the effect that he didn't want me there. And, guy went on to tell me, he goes, well, I don't know if it was him just in being in a bad mood because he was on meds and he was dying. And he said it, but we were kind of breaking his balls and stuff. But I just found it bizarre. It was just such a bizarre story, Mike, that here you are, you're on your deathbed and you're thinking about a guy that you haven't seen in 10 years. You haven't spoken to on a civil note in probably more than 15, 20 years. Your wife hates my guts. And you're telling this guy who I haven't spoken to in years other than social media to, relay the conversation that I'm not welcome at your wake or services, assuming that I'm going to go. So I was respectful. I said, look, I'll do whatever you guys want me to do. He goes, look, you're part of Pi Lam, our fraternity. He goes, you're a president. I know you were close at one point. I think if he was in a different spot, maybe he would think differently, but I don't think it's a great idea. I said, fine. I go, listen, I'll leave it at this. Speak to the guy's wife, whatever you guys want to do. No problem. God bless you. I'll either come or I won't come. He said, great. Okay. I'll leave it at that. So he calls me back 5 minutes later and he tells me, well, I just spoke to his wife and, she said that you're really not welcome there and they prefer that you not come. I said, no problem, bro. I said, have a nice night. And look, I'm sorry. I don't wish ill will on anybody, but I can tell you this, Mike, when I kick the bucket, you hate me, you love me, you want to come to my funeral, there's no restrictions. I'm not banning you. But I put on Twitter and social media. And again, it's in all due respect. If anybody's watching that's friends with him, you may think I'm a dick for bringing this up. But the reality of it is, if people know the real story, I try to reach out to the guy. And what I said on Twitter and social media was very simple. You know what? Other than Trump, I may be the only person that gets banned from anybody's funeral, and just a bizarre story. I told it to a couple of friends of mine. I told it to you, and it's like, who does shit like that?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's one of those things like, man, don't, bury the hatchet, man. Especially like that far into the game, man. Like,
I mean, 20 years. And listen, it's not like there was bad blood with us on some level, but I mean, I don't get people. I mean, going back to the COVID thing that you sent in the beginning of the episode, 46 years old. I don't wish that on anybody, man. And I can tell you this much, on my deathbed, I ain't thinking about people that have slided me from the Mac days or St. John's or High Lamb. You want to pay your respects? God bless you, man. Life's short. But I'll leave it on that note, guys.
All right. I think we're going to start wrapping. I have one last thing because I don't want to go out on this note. I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I found out some stuff that I never knew before. I found out with one thing. All right. I don't know if you knew this. The song, you're a DJ. The song "Girls Just Want to Have Fun" is a remake.
Really?
A guy, Robert Hazard, the guy was like a new wave, punky kind of dude, wrote the song in 1979.
Oh, 1979.
It's got like a new wave, Go-Go's kind of sound to it.
Okay.
When you hear the song. The guy died, I think, like 4 or 5 years ago. But he was the original, 1979, and then I think Cyndi Lauper came out in like 83.
And where did you see that? I mean, that's news to me. I mean, I know.
Oh yeah. By the way, all credit to Ralph Sutton on the Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll podcast. I saw it on his Instagram. Thank you, Ralph Sutton, for that little tidbit of information. Robert Hazard, rest in peace, wrote "Girls Just Want to Have Fun."
That's a good look, man. Whoever caught that as a DJ, I've never heard that before, so that's news to me. That's pretty cool.
All right, so what do you got for pluggy plugs?
Pluggy plugs, Big J Cristiano and Cardinal Financial. Please give them a phone call. If you have any purchases, refis, call Jay at 844-442-7334. That's going to be code 4215. The Mad Donkey, 3207 36th Avenue, Astoria, New York. Big Tommy D's place. 5-star shopping also by Tommy D. 917-559-8264. Check Tommy out. He'll take care of you. You have a good time at his place. Things are looking like more and more they're opening up in bars and restaurants. Check his establishment out. And if you have any shopping needs, check out Tommy. DJ Chris Clash, please give me a call. Website. I'm taking booking up very quickly, guys. So please, if you have any needs, let me know. I'll take good care of you. And that's it, man. I'm good on the shout outs this week.
All right. I got my usual 3. I Can Paint. My buddy Jack, give him a look at on Twitch, Provmatic. And you can listen to Pat Dixon, New York City Crime Report on all streaming services, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Google, what have you. And if you subscribe to the Compound Network, you can watch that show live. And I've been on it. So with that, let's see. What did we miss? Wow, we missed a lot of crap. White House Plumbers. Stuff, White House Plumbers TV show you said was going to be on. Prince Harry and Oprah. He's meditating on TV, and he's what a baby. Texas, 0 COVID deaths. Okay.
Charles Grodin.
Trust the science. Charles Grodin, Midnight Run. Rest in peace, buddy. Great actor. One of the funniest. That dry wit movie actor. He was Midnight Run. If you've never seen Midnight Run, watch Midnight Run just for him. He blows De Niro out of the water and almost.
Glad to see me, Jack. See me in the next life.
Yeah. I'm a white collar criminal. White collar criminal. Why aren't you popular with the Chicago
Great. God,
yeah, just a
rest
great,
in peace, bro.
I didn't
Rest
realize he was like
86, man. He was up there.
He was up there.
He was up there.
Cops banned from the Gay Pride Parade. New York City cops are banned from the Gay Pride Parade. I think that's a load of shit. Don't say you include, you're the group that wants to include everybody. Then you got to include everybody.
Can't have it both ways, folks.
Yeah. We also said, we got Jordan and Obama. That's for another time.
Yeah,
that's
another one.
Conversation. We'll bring that up. Other than that, listen, we'll see you next week. Remember, like, subscribe, share, tell people. We want to keep doing this, so help us out and take us out.
Subscribe, and I'm going to take you out on this note. Folks, crackheads out there, life is short. And with this note, think of Goodfellas at the end, folks.
Don't be regular snook.
You can't, I'm not a quill. I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full, and each and every highway has it. Much more than this, I did it my way.
I lived a life like a schnook. Good night, everybody.
Tomatoes and ketchup and noodles. Later.